In the Arawayi Reserve in central Kenya, across the endless expanse of savanna, lived an old man named Kibaru. He was a former ranger who had dedicated more than 50 years of his life to protecting wild animals from poachers. From his youth to old age, Kibaru patrolled the reserve daily, knowing every corner of the land and every animal by heart. He was respected not only by the locals but also by the reserve staff for his wisdom and unwavering kindness. Even after retiring, despite his age and fatigue, he continued to drive his old Jeep, checking on the animals and mentoring young rangers. He paid special attention to the elderly and injured animals resting in a designated safe area. Lately, the heat in Arawayi had become unbearable. Temperatures rose to 46 degrees Celsius, and animals increasingly sought shelter under the shade of acacia trees. One early morning, Kibaru set out to check on a wounded buffalo that had been found with an injury on its side. He drove along the parched, bumpy road, ignoring the scorching wind that blew into the cabin. Upon arriving, he approached the animal with care to assess its condition. His eyes were filled with concern. But suddenly, a sharp pain pierced his chest. He tried to stay on his feet but collapsed into the dry grass. Not far away, his former students, John and Malik, were tending to antelopes when they heard a faint cry for help. They rushed over. John checked his pulse and realized Kibaru's heart was in distress. Malik frantically searched his pockets for medication, but it seemed Kibaru had forgotten it that day. The situation was critical. They immediately called for the medical team over the radio, and the entire reserve mobilized. While he was being rushed to the medical unit, John stayed close, calling out his name. But Kibaru's breathing grew weaker. Doctors began emergency procedures, using a defibrillator and CPR, but after 20 minutes, they quietly confirmed his heart had stopped. The entire reserve was in shock. They had just lost its soul. The next day, according to his wishes, a funeral ceremony was held in the reserve, following local customs. A simple wooden platform was placed in the center of the camp. Kibaru's body lay on it peacefully, as if asleep. One by one, staff, friends, and students approached to say their goodbyes in silence. John held his hand, recalling years of working side by side. Malik lit incense and murmured a quiet prayer. Suddenly, a deep roar echoed from the edge of the camp. Out of the bushes emerged a massive leopard, moving slowly and with purpose. People panicked, backing away, but the leopard showed no aggression. It walked up to the platform, circled it, and stopped at the head, bowing its head in what seemed like mourning. The leopard was covered in old scars, and John suddenly recognized it was the same animal that Kibaru had rescued 17 years ago from a poacher's trap. Kibaru had treated its wounds and nursed it back to health before releasing it into the wild. Now, sensing the loss, the leopard had returned to say goodbye. The scene left everyone speechless. When the funeral ended, Kibaru's body was carried to a peaceful spot beneath an old baobab tree where he used to sit in the evenings. A grave was dug under its shade, and his body was laid to rest. A stone with his name was placed at the head of the grave. The leopard followed behind silently and remained near the grave, as if keeping watch. At sunset, the sky turned a fiery red, and a long, sorrowful roar echoed across the savanna cry of grief from the wild. In the days that followed, the reserve suspended its daily operations to mourn the loss. People visited his grave, bringing wildflowers and offering prayers. The leopard returned occasionally, sitting quietly by the grave and staring into the distance. Thus ended the story of Kibaru's legend of Arawayi man, who became one with the land he protected, remembered by people and animals alike. And now, in the silence of the savanna, one can still hear not only the wind, but also the echo of a grateful, wild heart. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.